Join us on this Tea Time Chat where we share our authentic perspectives on all things spiritual.
It's real, it's raw, it's unfiltered.
A quick note before we begin. The views shared in this podcast are our personal perspectives and are intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast is not medical, psychological, legal, or financial advice. Please use your own discernment and consult a qualified professional where appropriate.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 7.
Hello!
The title is Consciousness, eh? This is going to be a fun one. But before we start, let's just set our intention. Let's close our eyes if it's safe for you to do so. Take some deep breaths. We call in the angels of love and light, all the higher beings from all dimensions, all space and time that can come and help with the information today. All beings of highest and best good for everybody. Only love and light is welcome. We call in the protection angels to protect this space and allow the channel to be clear and accurate and clear, concise and informative and enlightening. Enlightenment for sure. We thank you all those beings of love and light that are here to right now, today, in this moment. Please allow this channel to continue to who needs to hear it, when they need to hear it, at the perfect divine timing. So mote it be.
So it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. I
Welcome.
love how we set the intention. It's just sets the space, sets the energy. Love it.
Here we go.
So here we are today.
I
you
think
go
I'll
ahead.
start off and just because this is Concetta's jam. Like,
Well, I mean, it's our jam, but
it's our jam. But like you've taught me so much about it, and so I just want to like start off with kind of the definition of consciousness, and then we can kind of dive into it and see how the definition is so
much more.
The definition is so much more, and what the definition says is consciousness is a state of being aware of your surroundings. Okay, that to me is awareness. But consciousness is much, much more, much vaster, vast. I heard more intelligent. So why don't you tell us, Concetta, a little bit about the goodness. So like we're gonna go into like a little bit of the science.
Yeah, we're gonna just talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit of science and spirituality and kind of help to bring these two together, because ultimately they're one and the same when it comes to consciousness, even though they present differently. And so it's just kind of presenting two different sides. And I'm going to also introduce a little bit of like very simplified quantum physics, quantum mechanics, because that's the scientific way of how we can describe spirituality and vice versa. So I have some notes here. And I'm so like obsessed with this, because when I first came to learn about consciousness and quantum physics, it just opened up my world. It gave me such a vast, higher perspective of who we really are. And
I mean, Concetta, like before we pressed record, she was just giving me a little bit of the background, and it like opened me like I was like, oh my god, I've just shifted.
Well, it does help to give you,
it does.
It's like a deeper layer than, again, like most people are aware of, and I wasn't aware of this until I learned it. So but first of all, I just want to start off, like, I want to just explain that, like, we are not these physical bodies. states, okay? We are the soul, a soul that is inhabiting these physical bodies. So, grasping that very basic concept will help the rest of this make sense because that's the foundation of consciousness. Okay. So, let's talk a little bit about the science of what energy, vibration, frequency, because that's all connected, right? Like Cynthia said, consciousness in its most basic form is awareness. And to expand a little bit on that, it's like to be conscious is to have the awareness, to be the observer of things that you can observe from the observer perspective. So an example that we were talking about earlier is like if you can hear that voice in your head, that little voice of yourself, when you talk to yourself in your head,
Yeah.
when you can hear it and observe it, you recognize that you're observing yourself from the observer perspective. So it's like you can recognize that you're not just the voice, but you're also the observer observing that voice. If that makes sense, right?
Hmm.
And
It's like you're having a conversation in your head, and
yes.
then like I do this all the time. That I'm look like I'm just sitting there quietly, but then all of a sudden I'll laugh out loud, and my husband's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just they were talking, and I just
Yeah.
what they said was funny or something." It's the conversation between two of you, and this physical body is just aware of it. I
Yes,
guess.
and actually that's
I
great
got there
because
right.
the observer is the higher aspect of you. It's that form in spirit, the higher aspect of you that is an energy observing that physical aspect of you. And I know that's hard to
Hmm.
define, but like we are multidimensional. But let's just do some like really simple quantum mechanics. And I jotted down some really simple notes. But at the core of everything, like consciousness is, I define it as it's a frequency of all that is, all that ever was, all that will ever be. It's like I like to use the word like source, God, or
Mm.
creator. It's everything, but it's also nothing. It's everything and it's nothing because that's all there is. And like the universe, everything, universe, particles, planets, everything, it's all part of this overarching consciousness. And so I'm going to use God because God is, I don't know, our creator source. It doesn't matter because they all mean the same thing. Um, it's like creator God wants to grow and learn and evolve. But in order for it to do that, it cannot observe itself from itself, if that makes sense. So it needs to become separate to in order to observe itself. And so what happened is that all of these little fractals of source God or creator, also known as souls, we all fractalized from this greater aspect, this greater all that is, this consciousness, God, creator, and we fractalized. Now we are still connected as one, but each fractal has its own unique blueprint. So we have our own soul essence,
Own soul fingerprint, if you
soul
will.
fingerprint. Exactly. So we're all still unique, but we're still part of the one.
You know, can I just slip in a
Yes.
visualization I just saw? Is kind of like okay, you think of a dandelion, right? The dandelion comes and it forms this ball of all these seeds. And then when you blow the ball, all the seeds go everywhere,
Yes.
but there's still the part of the dandelion
Yes.
inside.
Yes.
So like source is that dandelion, and then
Yes.
it wanted to experience
Expansion, growth.
itself,
Right.
yeah, all the things. So when you it blew the dandelion, it made itself all these fractals, but then there's still that source
Yes.
attached to the
Yeah.
dandelion. So
I mean, that's a great visual.
that's what I saw.
Exactly. It's a great
Yeah,
visual because all of these little fractals
all
are
these
like
dandelion seeds.
it's all spread out,
Yeah.
and all of these fractals, billions and billions and billions of all of these fractals, that's exactly what happened. And so all of these fractals now have the opportunity to incarnate onto planet Earth, and some incarnate in on other planets,
Mm.
in other universes and galaxies. But for the sake of, we live on Earth,
Yeah.
we're here, we're
We'll,
gonna just
we'll
focus
keep
on
it.
Earth, we're
Yeah.
gonna keep it on Earth. Is the soul now incarnates into the physical vessel, and the
Mm.
purpose of coming here is to experience the human experience, so that when the soul returns back to source, it brings with it all of the experiences that that soul, that fractal
Mm.
had here, and can bring it back to source, so source can observe
Mm.
different aspects of itself, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. It makes
Right?
sense. It's like this is what we talk about when we say we're one, but also you're unique. You're unique,
Exactly.
but you're also one.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
like
coming back to the ocean. We are the ocean, but we're also that little drop of
yes,
water
yeah,
in the ocean.
yes,
It's all I mean, there's many different ways of describing
yeah.
it, but because we are all one. That's the thing. And
Like we all came from that same dandelion, but yet we're all
but we're all
individual.
uniquely individual with our own unique soul essence, soul blueprint.
Well, and that's where the frequency, vibration, and energy come in, right?
Exactly.
Okay, tell us about
Exactly.
that.
Because each soul now is coming in at a different frequency, and that will be based on what it is the soul chose to learn or experience in this lifetime.
Mm.
You see, we all make these soul contracts, and there's so much more involved in this. I'm just really simplifying it, if that makes sense. But, the souls, before they come here, go through a different process where they're in higher realms working with other beings, angels, light beings that are figuring out how they're going to come here and experience this physical life. And we work in soul, over souls. It's like groups of similar souls that came here because the frequency in that soul group is all very similar. And then you have different soul oversoul groups, and then from those oversoul groups, once again, the souls come down as individual fractals and now come into this physical world to experience what it is that they chose to come here and experience. So, how this connects to energy and frequency is that every soul has its own frequency. You are born with a base frequency, and nothing can change that. So whenever I say, like, you're born, that is who you truly are. That frequency that you're born in its purest form, is your soul essence. That is the truth of who you are before anything comes in to try and change it, distort it, disguise it, disconnect
Mhm.
it, whatever.
Mm.
And but that is always kind of with you throughout your entire life, and you have to go through certain experiences to eventually get to a place where your soul has now said it's time to remember who I am. And so if you pick this particular lifetime, to awaken, to come back to the remembering of who you are, you're going to experience what we've discussed in other episodes: spiritual awakening, or multiple spiritual awakenings, and going through dark
Good
night of the
deal.
soul, which is
Mhm.
the soul awakening and shedding the layers to get back to that true aspect of who you were when you came into this world.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's like you were saying, not everybody comes here to awaken.
No.
And so it really is um the frequency and the vibration that you come that will, I guess, dictate the path, the journey.
Hmm.
If is that am I
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, because we
yeah.
already kind of have that blueprint that's set out for us. And now, don't forget, we also have free will.
Yes.
And so sometimes we stray
Mm.
off of our soul path. We make the free will decision not to do what we had set out to do, and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if
Although sometimes, like what happened to me, it was
exactly,
like she's not getting it and she
yeah,
needs to do this.
yes,
So
exactly,
it's almost like there's free will, but there's also destiny,
divine will,
divine will. Is that
divine
divine
will,
will?
divine
Yeah.
will is always in coherence with your soul.
Yeah. So it's like even if I was not aware, I was just, doing what living my life. I was not aware of what I needed to do. And it was like a sharp redirect because I guess
Mhm.
divine will was like, oh no, you got to do it. And then like I talked in the last
Mhm.
episode, I was like, no, 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 I don't want to do it. And it was like, no, 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 you got to do it.
Yeah.
Like it was like you cannot not do it.
Well, because you had
I
to.
had to.
You
So
had
even
to.
though my free will was like, no, it was
Exactly.
like overriding my free will, I guess.
Exactly. And in some cases, it's like, no, 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 no. That's a hard, you can't change this. Because we can
Yeah.
change the trajectory of our life through choices we make based on free will, but there are certain things that we cannot change
Oh,
depending on what you agreed to.
yeah.
And so
That
that's
makes
in your
sense.
case, you had veered off and it's like, we're not doing this. And
Well, yeah.
you were abruptly brought because it's like, no, Cynthia, you have to do
Well,
this.
because I would not be here if that didn't happen.
Exactly.
And now, yeah, that makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And so some people
Yes.
are going to have to go through those experiences if
Yeah.
they venture too far off their path. But it's not like, I mean, some people go off and come back and go
Yeah.
off and come back. And that's kind of normal. But like
Yeah.
you obviously had something really important to do.
They're
And
like
it's
this
like,
shit. This chick is wasting our time.
it's like TikTok goes the clock. Okay.
I
Right?
love it. Yeah. And it's not
Yeah.
like we assume that most of you listening, or if not all of you, are on this ascension path. Um, but there are some that are not.
Yeah.
Their purpose is to stay in the low
And to be the
frequency and to be the
placeholders.
placeholders. They're your catalysts almost to
Exactly.
help you
Mm.
um, kind of rise up.
Like
So
some people chose to come here and be the support for those that are
yeah,
going to do it.
yes.
So
There's so many. Like I mean, it's you
there's
can't even
infinite
infinite.
contracts
Yeah.
and soul missions, and we'll never know fully 100%, although
Yeah.
once you start to learn how to tap into that, you soon discover what your soul purpose or mission is, and that's a
Hmm.
self journey.
Yeah.
But many people that are unconscious, in the sense of that they lack awareness or they lack the ability to observe things. It's easy to judge and say, well, this person, they'll never whatever. And that's, and it's the human nature is to judge people, but also from a higher perspective, it's like, well, it's frustrating that this person is still lacking awareness, but that probably is because they had to go through that experience for whatever reason, or maybe that they were the catalyst for me
Yeah.
so that I can do the work, and they had to trigger that in me. It's like,
Yeah.
and we come in these soul pods, like
Still helping each other,
helping
just
each other.
different levels of consciousness, as you're going to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we all are on different levels of consciousness. So
Mm.
please understand, like, there is no, it's not a hierarchy. It's not about that
Mm-mm.
someone's higher or lower. It's
No.
not about being a guru. It's nothing of that sort. It's simply speaking, it's just energy and energy
Yeah.
measurements. And this is what I'm
Because
going to
we're
talk
all from
about.
the same source. We are all like one.
Yeah,
And what we experience here in this physical reality is just based on why we chose to come, based on our contract. And
exactly.
the person that if you think is like not as enlightened could be the most enlightened soul that
Exactly.
chose to come as an unenlightened person
Oh, that's so
to like
beautiful.
lift you up so that
Yes.
your soul can go back to source and be more
Yes.
enlightened.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so this is why we
Whew,
say like no
spirit.
judgment.
Got angels on
Exactly.
that one.
It's beautiful,
That is
Cynthia.
not Cynthia words.
Wow. That is
That's angels for sure. Thank you.
that's pretty good. Thank you for that perspective
Oh.
because it's true.
Mm.
So what I want to do is just go into a little bit of the sciencey, the
Yeah.
quantum mechanics, like really basic, simple stuff, just to bring an understanding. So energy. Let's talk about like what is energy.
Mm.
Now, science explains energy as the fundamental concept in science. Okay, it's how everything is matter, how matter moves. It's
Mm.
all of that, just basic science, energy. And there's different types of energy. But what I want to focus on is yeah, energy exists in many forms. And also, the quote from Einstein, I love this
Mm.
quote, is that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be
Changed.
changed.
Yeah.
So energy always changes from one form
Oh,
to another. And that's coming. Oh, and this just came to me.
yeah.
Death is that energy. You
Form,
never
changing form.
die. Your soul
Yeah.
never dies. You just transform. You change from physical
Yeah.
to energy again.
Mhm.
So it's that constant shifting of energy. It's always evolving, right? Like it's everything is always shifting
You know what I
form.
see is like our souls are like this little ball of light, and then we come into this body and we power the body.
Mhm.
And then when we're done, we go back to source and the body goes back to the earth cuz like the body is made like how babies develop. It's all from like your the cells of the mother and the father, right? The
Mm.
X and Y chromosomes or whatever you want to say,
Yes.
like the sciencey part of it. So it comes from nothing and then it returns to nothing, but yet it is still something.
Yes.
You know what
And
I mean? Because it's
I
like,
do. And
I
you
don't know.
just something just popped into my mind when you were talking about a baby. So science actually has proved this, that when they see the egg and the sperm fertilize, like the sperm fertilizes the egg and life begins, there's actually a spark
I
of
read
light.
that too.
That's been proven scientifically that
I love
it's
it.
this energy, this spark that is it's the creation. So that is the beginning of a
Mm,
new soul, a new fractal that's beginning. Does that make
I
sense?
love it.
But oh, it's just like it's so layered. It's so layered, and like this topic can be hours and hours long. But I really just wanted to bring more of a
Mm,
foundation and understanding. But like, let's talk about vibration and frequency
mm.
because we hear those terms used interchangeably, and sometimes they're not used
Well,
properly.
I'm totally guilty of it because I
I've done it
until
too.
our like recent before we
Yeah,
pressed record conversation, I totally did not understand the difference. I
that's
thought they
okay.
were one and the same. So
Well,
yes,
and it's I did the same thing
educate
for a
us.
long time. So vibration is the oscillating energy. Okay, so just picture like a sine wave because this is the oscillation. So this is the vibration, it's the
Like
action that happens
like a
with
radio
energy.
wave,
A radio wave,
microwave, different
microwave,
kind of waves,
everything. Even when we speak, we're putting out
different waves.
waves,
Okay.
frequencies that are vibrating and
Mm.
oscillating at different
Oh, you know what
frequencies.
I just saw is like the singing bowls.
Yes.
Is that it? Like,
Yes, because those vibrations are going out.
and they each bowl has a different
Frequency.
vibration and frequency, right?
Yes. So frequency is the measurement of the vibration.
Uh,
And we measure vibrations in hertz. So if you're familiar with hertz, you know, like 100 hertz, or the heart frequency is
oh yeah.
432 hertz. That's
Hmm.
what the heart frequency measures at. So, like, understanding the difference between vibration and frequency, it can help to kind of help you understand more about energy in general. So, we vibrate energy, okay? But we also have a frequency to our vibration, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of like different radio stations
Yes.
have different, like you have rock and
Mhm.
country and like you have all, so it's
Those are
like
different
different
frequencies.
frequencies
Exactly. Well, they
on,
are. I
oh,
mean, on
okay,
the
yeah.
dial,
So the radio
99.2,
wave,
right?
so there's the radio
Yes.
wave and there's
The
the frequency that
frequency,
kind of goes with it,
exactly.
and they vary.
And they do vary. They do.
And that's why your soul blueprint or fingerprint, as we say, has its own frequency and vibration together that
Yes.
is unique to the soul.
Exactly.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and this is where I define that in its most simplest terms
Yeah.
as the soul essence.
Mm,
It is who you are at the absolute essence, the truth, who
mm,
you are in soul form or
mhm.
spirit, because spirit is, once again, spirit is energy.
So, and then when you come here,
Hmm.
you choose a different vibration or frequency, or do you keep?
So when you're born into a family that has a specific frequency. And
So
the
you have to find your
frequencies,
frequency again.
well, no, because we chose the frequencies to experience what it is we needed to experience with our
Oh,
soul
okay.
contract. So, for example, for myself, I chose a family that operated on the frequency of fear, of lack, of survival, of low emotional states. Those are frequencies.
Mhm.
My soul chose a family with a low vibration of frequencies that I had to experience. Does that make sense?
Okay, but your essence, your
So
soul's essence is
my
higher.
my essence came in at a higher frequency, but I had to go into the lower in order for me to experience those so that it would help me catapult into my own learning, evolving, growth, evolution. Because the soul has to also evolve and grow. The soul is always rising.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
growing.
So source in itself wanted to experience itself, and you as a soul also want to experience yourself. So
Exactly.
that's why you come here
Yes.
on earth, like
Mhm.
earth school, and
Mhm.
like to experience these different things so that you can evolve, and then source evolves from how you evolve.
Exactly, because when
Whoa,
our soul goes
that's
back
crazy.
to source, source is now observing itself
Yeah.
through you and your experience. You're
Oh,
bringing back
wow.
that information, and those
Whew.
experiences is information.
That was
Deep,
deep.
deep.
My
Like, I know it sounds, and like when I
but when
learned
you
about
get
this,
it, it's
yeah.
like, I don't know, eureka. Like it's
Well,
just
it just
so
kind of,
enlightening. Like,
it just opens your awareness to
yeah.
that we really are more
Mm,
than what we've been told. And so,
mm,
learning a little bit of this, which is kind of science-y, is important because it helps set the foundation for understanding the deeper as we get into consciousness so that you can grasp that concept a little bit easier, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
and now, like, one of my favorite quotes, Nikola Tesla. Like, if you've ever read Nikola Tesla or learned about him, he was well ahead of his time. And one of his most famous quotes is, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Hmm.
Essentially, what he's saying is that we live in a universe that is just made of energy, frequency, and vibration. And
Yeah.
through all of that, we learn through ourselves, through our experiences, through everything. And then we continue learning as a soul because we're continually evolving and we're learning about everything around us. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's so multifaceted, and it's really difficult to get into more of it because it even goes over my head at a certain point. I'm
Hmm.
like, whoa, like mind blown. But like,
Yeah.
this is just really simplified, if that makes any sense. But
Mm,
back to what we were saying, the soul is a unique vibrational blueprint or essence. So we are source, God, but we are also our own unique soul.
mm.
So if we can understand that basic concept, this will now tie into the consciousness So yeah, so Cynthia, um, again, like just very basic, but we don't need to fully understand all of quantum mechanics to appreciate the implications of it. But I just wanted to share the foundation. What I also want to say is that before science, before quantum mechanics was even a thing, it was all just consciousness. Everything was just consciousness. And it was just like an inner knowing of how things operated from a consciousness level. And even so, I mean, let's look at religion as well. Like if we predate religion, we had spirituality. So consciousness is not a new concept. It's been since the dawn of creation. And we're just bringing it in now to kind of explain a little bit more about how we're going to connect it to us as individuals, tied to our emotions and our thoughts, and how it's all tied into healing,
Mm.
because it's all energy, it's all frequency, and it's all vibration. So science, it's
Mm.
funny because when I spoke in previous episodes about the as within, so without, that concept of recognizing that what you experience internally is going to reflect to you externally, and what is happening externally is going to again reflect on what is happening internally. That is the mirroring of the external to the internal. That is all also connected to this this vibration that we put out and receive, and that also comes to the one of the universal laws is we have the law of vibration, or the law of attraction, where what you put
Mm.
out you receive, or what you align to.
Mm.
So it's all frequency.
Yes.
Everything is energy in that, and it's always ebbing and flowing back and forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you were talking about or in the other episode about how you can lose friendships because your frequency like
Changes.
changes and you are expecting, like you just have this expectation of higher better things or whatever it is, and maybe who you were friends with before is still um not like, here you're like, I'm worthy, and money flows to me easily, and the other friend is like, oh, I'm always lacking and I'm always struggling, and so it's like you've shifted, and so now what you're calling in doesn't match with what who you were, I guess.
Exactly, because you're vibrating at a specific frequency.
Okay. Okay, so let's take it back. So your soul has its own special vibration and frequency, its own little blueprint. And then it comes into the body and it goes through challenges. It basically goes through like the childhood trauma and all of that stuff. Its frequency, its blueprint gets muddled. And so therefore now it's emitting a lower frequency and vibration because its essence is now covered in the muck. And then
Yes.
as you come out of the muck, you start to find your true blueprint again, your
Exactly.
true vibration and frequency. So what happens is from the muck, you're at the low frequency and vibration, and then you slowly build, and you're like you slowly do your dark night of the soul, and then you come up to a different frequency and vibration. And then you do another dark night of the soul and you come up to a different frequency and vibration until you kind of find your essence again, your true frequency and
Yeah,
vibration.
you come back to who you really are, the remembering, because
So
it was
yeah, just
always
like
there,
that's amazing. So this
right?
is like what we talk about, you finding your true self. It's finding that true frequency and vibration that you um
Came in to
came
the
in
world
with,
with.
that is who you are in the infinite.
In the infinite, exactly, because again, your soul is so much even bigger than we even realize, because we're multidimensional.
Wow.
We are
It's just like
multidimensional.
blowing my mind.
We are here, we are our higher self, we are galactic, we
Mm.
are connected to many different levels of consciousness and
Mm,
vibrating at different frequencies. And then that also ties into another topic, which is all about dimensions.
mm.
And and that's a whole different topic, which I think we might have to talk about
Yeah.
another day, because that's like,
I think we're blowing their mind enough right now.
right, right. But coming to the 3D and the 5D, those
Yeah.
are levels of consciousness. And so whenever we speak about that, and it's not that people are less or more, it's just people are vibrating at a 3D level of consciousness, which is the more of an unconscious state, where they lack awareness, they don't see beyond the physical. So yeah, so
So they're stuck in that low
there's
vibration.
exactly, they're stuck in that vibration of fear, of lack, of shame, of guilt. And that 3D state of consciousness is a choice, but
Mhm.
it's also maybe what the soul chose to experience before it can shift out of that and move into a higher state of consciousness, which is the 5D. 5D is it's the enlightenment stage, it's the awareness, it's recognizing that you are more than just the physical, that there is so much more, that we are spirit, we are all that is. It's having the awareness that we are powerful, that we actually create our reality
And this
through
is like a
intention and
higher vibration, a higher
higher
frequency.
higher frequencies. And that,
Mm.
back to
Oh,
the
yeah.
Hawkins scale, and we're going to keep coming back to this,
Hmm.
because this is ultimately what we are always ebbing and flowing out of, from the lower states to the higher states. And many of us are going to fluctuate up and down, up and down. Now, for people who are still in the unconscious state, they're going to be in this lower state here, which is fear, shame, guilt, lack, survival,
Anger,
anger,
desire,
desire, grief, apathy,
shame.
shame.
Yeah.
And then as you begin to shift your consciousness, your frequency, whether it's through healing or awakening, and you're
So then
going
it
up
goes.
and down, up and down, you slowly start to rise your frequency up. And this is courage and pride. And then again, rising even higher, going into frequencies of acceptance, of willingness, of neutrality,
Mm,
up to love and reason, and higher up to peace and joy, and then eventually up to enlightenment.
mm.
Now, not every not, people who reach enlightenment are not in physicality anymore.
Yeah.
That would be like Jesus.
Yeah.
If you want to, like, just
I think it would be near impossible to reach that in
not in
the
human
physical.
form,
Yeah.
not in
Yeah.
human form, no.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, how many people can hold unconditional love?
Yeah.
Not in human form. It's very difficult. Animals can, pets can.
Yeah.
They're of a higher
The
frequency,
frequency and vibration.
their
Yeah.
souls are. But the
Yeah.
humans, and this is part of our soul evolution,
Hmm.
is that to slowly rise our frequency and to reach in the higher frequencies. So this comes with healing, this comes with awareness, this
Mm.
comes with the shifting. And
Like, for example, a dark night of the soul, you're going to be down here in grief, guilt, shame, and then you're going to eventually rise up
yep,
and peace, joy, love.
yep,
You know what I mean? So it's
you
like
you
it's
bounce up
you
and
bounce
down.
up and down.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And again, if you're in these lower frequencies, there's nothing wrong with
No,
that. There's nothing
it's
wrong
a
with
shift.
you.
It's the process of the shift.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just to help you understand that we're always going to be in a frequency, and it's changing constantly, and it changes by our choices and our intentions,
Mm,
and where we decide to put
mm,
our energy,
yeah.
because we can change our frequency at any point during the day simply by doing something. Like,
Yep.
if we're feeling low or heavy, we shift and put on some high vibrational music,
Yeah.
or we change our thoughts. Like, if you're caught in a loop,
Yeah.
oh, I'm thinking something negative, and go through the healing of it, but then you can shift out of that loop, and now you can
Yeah.
choose something different, right? It's all a choice. um, but this is essentially all connected to consciousness. So, um, emotions and thoughts are what we're talking about here on the map of consciousness. This is emotions and thoughts. And emotions and thoughts resonate and vibrate at certain frequencies. So,
Mhm. Can I just jump in? Because
yeah.
when we were talking earlier, it was so wild because you were saying telepath to
Oops,
pass. Sorry.
sorry,
Oh
hon.
no.
Yeah. Telepathy?
Thank you. Because I was talking about how my cat is he's on what do you call it? Palliative care.
Hmm.
He he so he's sleeping a lot. And just a few days ago, I was having a conversation with him I was hearing him talk to me, but physically he's sleeping, but I'm like having a full on conversation with him. And so you were saying that's because we're at it's at a different level of consciousness
Yeah.
that now I'm able to access um, the communication, I guess, easier. And what Spirit told me was that what had happened is I surpassed the veil of physicality.
Hmm.
So basically, in the physical form, we have a veil that kind of blinds us to, we think separation. There's
Yes.
the veil of time.
Yes.
um, there's certain things that have to sort of be in the physical
Yeah.
form for us to work through and grow. And so what
Hmm.
Spirit said is you surpass that in that moment, because I'm
Hmm.
not always living in that. I
Hmm.
don't think it's possible. I surpassed it in that moment to connect and communicate.
Hmm.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
like just the levels
Well,
of consciousness is it's so infinite. I don't
it is
think it's
infinite, and
yeah.
it's like there's some people on planet Earth that are holding levels of consciousness like 60, 70, like much higher.
Hmm.
Again, it all depends on your
Oh,
blueprint and
yeah.
what your soul mission was, maybe, what star family you came
Oh, yeah.
from,
Like
it's
your capabilities as
your
well.
capabilities,
Yeah. Like I
absolutely.
don't know if I could hold that. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I can later.
Well, I mean,
Right
anything is
now I can't.
possible, but that's part of us evolving, and
Yeah.
as a collective, the entire collective is
Mm.
actually evolving. We're shifting out of that low 3D, and we are moving up to
Mm.
5D. It's just as a collective, it's not as easy and it doesn't look like a shift, but it is shifting because more and more people are awakening and remembering. So it's like we're slowly making these movements up and up and up and
Mm.
up. But on an individual level, everybody's at different levels.
Yeah.
So again, it's we're all one and we're
Mm.
all individual,
Yeah.
and we are helping the collective by helping ourselves,
Yeah.
and we help ourselves by helping the collective.
So within, so without.
Exactly. So,
Wow.
all right. Well, Cynthia, like, whew, that's like, we're getting a little deep in this episode. Whoa. And I mean,
How's your brain doing?
yeah, how's your brain doing? I'm sorry if this
It
seems a
took me
little
I
bit,
had
but
to like take a moment. Yeah.
yeah, but all I'm doing is I'm just bringing, again, it's like bringing a different awareness to who
Yeah.
you are and what it really is all about, because there is so much more than what we can see or understand. But then once you start to understand and go through
Hmm.
that process, you can start to see all the different layers. But now I want to take all of that science that we talked about, and like want to bring it into like our everyday life,
Mm.
because that's where we are. And how can we use consciousness to understand ourselves? And so some of the notes that I have is like, well, how does consciousness show up in your everyday life?
Mm.
So it's the awareness of your patterns. It's maybe pausing before you're reacting. And it's choosing a response over reflex. So how you how you respond or react is a level of consciousness. So when you get triggered by somebody, and instead of pausing and saying, okay, this has triggered me, how am I going to react? Or no, sorry, how am I going to respond instead of reacting? Because like the old version of me, the
Mhm.
unhealed version of me would react. I
Yep.
would get defensive. I would react. I would project.
Angry.
I would get angry. I would
Yep.
be like, "Ah, why is this person saying this?" But
The lower like
the
the
lower,
low
the
frequency.
unconscious
Yeah.
state, the
Yeah.
unconscious or lower consciousness.
Yeah.
But at a higher consciousness, if you've gone through that process of healing and awakening and awareness, now you can look at it and say, okay, I'm observing this. I recognize that this person is angry at me, but their anger is really not about me. Their anger is something that is triggered within them. And they're not able to see that. So they're just projecting it to me. So, how am I going to choose now to deal with this? Do I react like the old me? Or do I say, okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to just sit with it. And then I'm going to respond. And you
Mm.
respond without emotion. You can be neutral in
The
your
neutrality
response.
right there. See, you just went like
Neutrality
you went
right
from
here.
like let's say you went from um like anger
Exactly.
150 and
Yep.
then you went up to 250 neutrality.
Neutrality. So you've,
Or actually you went up to 400 reason,
yep,
and you know what I mean, like you ebb and flow and you're yeah, so
exactly. So, and on a consciousness level, the way that you choose to respond or react or behave is going to reflect on a level of consciousness,
mm,
and it's all choice. Now, but in order to be at that state, you have to have some sort of awareness, and that awareness is becoming the observer of who you are,
mhm,
and that observer comes back to, recognizing that you're more than who you are. It's like observe yourself in the moment.
mhm.
And it's such an interesting concept because it's almost like you pull out of yourself and just watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever actually experienced that, like
Oh yeah, just
outer
like a
body.
few days ago.
It's like whoa.
Yeah.
And when you practice that, or you get into that habit of observing, it starts to become natural. And then you just, from that point forward, you will always act from a higher place of consciousness.
Yeah.
And by you doing that, you're teaching other people that there are other
Mm.
ways
Yes.
of being.
Yes.
Does that's the ripple effect,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Oh,
oh, Cynthia's not reacting like she used to. I
yeah.
push her buttons and she's not reacting
Yeah.
anymore. And it now reflects to them like, oh, like what's going on
Yeah.
here? And it gives them the choice.
And this is exactly like you were talking about just a few seconds or minutes ago. So within, so without, like
Yes.
how you how you like heal yourself, react yourself affects the outer environment.
Yes.
And yeah,
Absolutely. And if they choose it,
yeah,
because some people are
of
just
course.
not going to, but it's always giving people an option and an opportunity to choose something
And
different.
this gets to the whole law of attract or law of yeah, attraction and vibration that you were talking about, where you
Exactly.
choose, I'm going to choose peace,
Yes.
and that is my inner so within,
Mm.
and then what happens is peace comes to you so without.
Hmm. Yep, exactly. So,
Because
well,
you're like, I'm gonna vibrate at peace, 600, right?
hmm,
I'm gonna vibrate at the 600. And so what happens is then 600 on the out, you're vibrating in, out, and so the out comes in.
yeah, the law of attraction. What
Yeah.
is like unto itself is drawn. So, what you put out is going to come back. And if you vibrate at a higher frequency or a higher level of consciousness, you're going to receive that. Now, it may not come from the person that's choosing to stay in a lower state, but you'll receive it from another person. It always comes back. It always comes back to you in a form because it has to. That's the law. It's one of the 12 universal laws. Um,
Mm.
and then there's other things like law of cause and effect, which is every action has a consequence. I mean, there's so many that I think we really should
Do an
should
episode on
probably
that.
do an
Yeah.
episode just on these, but just to kind of explain that we're always choosing in every moment what we're putting out there,
Hmm.
and we're going to receive back what we put out. And that's where I always say we create our own reality.
Yeah.
So if we keep putting out negativity, we keep putting out fear,
I
we
have
keep
that
putting
written
out
down.
it, we're creating that for
Yep.
ourselves, and everything around us is going to reflect back to us fear and chaos and like negativity. So
Yeah, like Dr. Joe, change your outer reality, or change your outer reality by changing your inner reality.
yes.
And it's true because I think I shared in episode 2 or 3 that I did one of his walking meditations, and it's about that. It's about seeing who you want to be, and it was about my leg and how I couldn't
Mhm.
run on my leg, and I tried everything for years. And within, I think, 2 or 3 cycles of this walking meditation, I heard in my head run,
Mm.
and I ran, and since then there has been no pain. I was able to run without pain, and it has suc stayed sustained. And that's because I changed my inner reality by listening to his meditation, that then changed my outer reality.
Yes, and maybe I could just take this a step further
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
such a
please.
great example. Is we have energy that is all around us, and so like again we can see this as like the quantum fields. Everything is, all possibilities
Yes.
are in the quantum field. Now we can't see it, but everything that exists, all potentials exist within this quantum field that we are all a part of. And so when you shift your frequency, you are essentially coming into coherence with the frequency that's in the quantum field. And this is also part of how we create a reality because we're calling that in. So it's like, you know, I love Bashar. I
Mm.
follow Bashar. I'm fascinated by his teachings because
Can you spell that name so in
it's
case people.
Bashar. And Bashar is actually, I think he's an 8 dimensional consciousness that is channeled through Daryl Anka. He's a channel. He's been channeling this beautiful entity for the last 40 years. And what Bashar does is he teaches humanity about consciousness, quantum physics,
Mm.
and basically what I'm talking about, but at a much
He's
more
so
in
matter of
depth.
fact and
Oh,
hilarious at the same time.
I love it. And every time I listen to him, I'm like mind blown, mind
Yeah,
blown.
I know. There's some I was like, I don't even,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't
It's
get it.
fascinating. But how Bashar describes it is that we have multiple timelines or lifetimes. And much like the vibration of like the sine wave, it's like all of these lives or parallel timelines are all just right. They're all actively simultaneously alive. And we're always shifting in and out of these different timelines, which are different frequencies or levels of consciousness. And based on your frequency, you're going to now shift into that
Mm.
timeline, which is coherent with your frequency. So, what you
Mm.
did, Cynthia, is you raised your frequency to the version of you that didn't have the leg pain. So, you actually jumped, you quantum
Oh.
leaped into a timeline and a version of you that is at the consciousness and level of vibration that you don't have
Oh
the
my
leg
gosh.
pain.
And his meditation is about quantum leaping into the reality you want.
There you go.
What? That's so
So, I
cool.
mean, there's just
Like
so
without
many.
even knowing what I was doing. I
Right.
was just listening to
But
the
you
meditation, and then
quantum leaped.
I was open to it.
Yeah,
And then when I was ready,
exactly.
spirits like run,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay,
So you
give it a
raised
try.
your frequency enough that you now
Wow.
jumped to that timeline, that version of Cynthia that didn't have leg pain. You quantum jumped to that timeline. That is now your
Oh, that's
new
so cool.
frequency.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That is so wild. It's so
So,
wild that there's all these different levels that you can
yeah.
reach just with, I guess, choices, like you said.
Yeah,
And I mean,
choices.
it can't, it's not, sometimes it's maybe not meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
That's
Because that's
completely
sort of
okay.
it. There's so many like factors that come into existence, I guess. Because there's like, is it meant to be?
Mhm.
We have the free will, but then there's the divine will.
Yeah.
So it's like all these factors that come in
Of
to
course.
play. But yeah,
Of course.
it's, I mean, there's timelines that you might want to reach, but maybe you have to go through certain things then to reach it.
Right. And then
Yeah.
coming back to this, so the law of cause and effect. So
Mm,
every action has a consequence. So, what you're doing is going to bring you to a consequence, whether that's good or bad.
yeah.
The outcome is going to be shown to you, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so fascinating, and I mean, we could go on and on
Yeah.
and on about this, but we're getting close to the end of our podcast, our episode today, so I just want to see if there's anything else that, so we talked about how we can relate it to our everyday life, and conscious choice and frequency. I think that's a really big one, because again, it's the choices that we make is
Mm,
going to help us in every moment shift. Either we shift into a lower state of consciousness or into a higher state of consciousness. And this is where the awareness comes in. So that is connected to our nervous system, because our nervous system is, if it's stuck in a state of fight or flight
mm,
or fear or lack, that's the frequency that you're putting out
yeah.
constantly. And so you have to go through the healing of those aspects of you, inner child healing, ancestral healing, nervous system regulation. Maybe that's where
Hmm.
somatic healing can come in, sound healing. All of these different aspects of healing are going to help the different parts of you release and heal so that your vibration can rise. And then when you can get yourself to a place where your nervous system is regulated, you can be present, and you can experience things without reacting, becoming aware of
Mm,
that. That's when you can really make that
mm,
conscious shift into that next level, if that
mm,
makes sense,
yeah.
right?
Oh, so true.
And through all of this, have self-compassion with
Mm,
yourself, because it's not about getting somewhere faster, it's
no.
not about being better, it's none of that. It's just, you are you, and you came here for a reason, a purpose, a mission, and it's your job to figure that out. And you do that through this experience, through your life, through your challenges, everything. And the more that you grow and evolve and shift and heal and raise your vibration, and you're always going to be moving in a forward motion, even though
Mm,
sometimes you feel like it's going backwards.
yeah.
It's actually always helping you, if that makes
Mm.
sense. You're
Yeah, because
always.
you're, even if you falter, there's the lesson in the
Mhm.
falter, right? And it's okay. It's okay to, I mean, oh, so many times I've like,
Yeah.
you know, but that's part of the process too, like we always say, right?
It's a
It's a
process. Yeah.
process.
And so, tying it back to like awakening, spiritual awakening, because that is all part of everything that we are talking about,
Mm,
is that awakening does not mean that you're floating above life. You're not disconnecting from your body. You're not escaping. It means that you are being present with it through the good, the bad, the ugly, the
mhm,
discomfort, the pain. And in the transmutation of all of those, you then are able to hold and have capacity for love and self
mm,
forgiveness and self worth and self compassion. And so it's that shifting. It's, again, it's the frequency scale.
mhm,
It's shifting from those lower states to the higher states.
mm.
But you can't bypass. This is the thing. It's like you can't pretend to do this without actually doing it. And
Yeah.
back to those, the false light. A lot of false light people out there that preach, raise your frequency. Well, you can't raise your frequency unless you go in before you can come back out. You can't bypass that. And
Like the we said about the lotus, you have to go through the muck if you
you
want to
have to go
blossom
through the
like the
muck.
lotus. It's
Exactly.
part of the process. How
It's
many
part
times
of the
it's like
process.
drinking game. How many times has Cynthia said part of
Process.
the process?
Process. And yeah, and one final thing, as we're coming to a conclusion here, is that consciousness does not separate us.
Mm.
It connects us because, once again,
Yeah.
we are all one. We're all connected. And
Tea time truth bomb
tea
there.
time truth bomb is that we're all connected. We're all consciousness. We're
Yeah.
all one. And we're all here for this beautiful ride
Yeah.
called
Well,
life.
and like the other one, yeah. The other one was like, you don't need to figure out consciousness. You're already inside it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and like, you don't need to change reality by thinking harder. You change it by being more aware.
Exactly.
So,
Which comes back to the
it's like
original simplicity of what is consciousness. It is having the
awareness.
awareness.
There you go.
So here we are. I think we got it. I think we closed this
I
out.
think for tea time takeaway, we're just gonna let you sit with this. Maybe you have to listen to it like 4 or 5 times because it took me a while. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Tea
Yeah.
time takeaway, just sit with it.
Sit
Listen
with
to it a
it.
few times this episode and just let it absorb. And I think it's gonna change your life. I mean, it shifted me. That's for sure.
Well, it shifted me as well when
Mhm.
I learned all about this. It just brought me to a much deeper
Mhm.
understanding of life and who I am and the world that I'm a part of. And it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So
So
on that note, we send you
yay.
much love.
Thank you. Oh, before we go, make sure you like,
Oh yes.
share, subscribe, and comments. And yes, thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful delve into consciousness today. And we love you so much. Mwah.
Bye.
See you next time.